Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a double feature for two different regionals that happened around the world this past weekend. We have the Italy regional, as we see here, as well as the Oceania one that happened. And real quick before we get started, first, if you guys appreciate this content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to be working really hard on OP03 and tournament coverage, so there's going to be a lot of resources here, as well as on my website. But also, both these events were live streamed, so they're linked in this page as well, which is going to be in the description. But we have the live stream here by Double Sleeved for the Oceania one, as well as the Italian one. They have actually like a really nice page for a lot of their coverage there too, and where I got all these deck lists. So make sure to check them out and all their videos of all their. They did like a lot. They did a lot of coverage for this event too, which I think was really neat. So that's kind of how these work. And again, all these are going to be on my website, which is linked in the description below. But getting on into it, we do see both of these. So the Italian one did have the luxury of knowing what these top cuts are, but for their top 16 we have 7 whole Zoros, which is quite a bit, especially since we don't have that many comparatively. We only had about 60 players on Zoro, and we had 3 Katakuris, 2 Newgates, 2 Luccis, 1 Linlin, and 1 Trafalgar Law as well. So I think like the Katakuri and Newgate, not too surprising since they were kind of like the most popular leaders between the two of them, but honestly again, having so many Zoros top is very strong. Also Lucci was probably pretty good. Linlin and then Trafalgar Law probably the better conversion rate too, since Linlin is barely used. And then we did have like a useless kid and Ace being our other 2 kind of more popular leaders, and they didn't get in the top 16, at least for this one, because we do see in the Oceania one both of them got at least one, or exactly one, into their top 16, but also 5 Zoros, 5 Katakuris, so a little bit more than that, and then 2 Trafalgar Laws and 2 Newgates as well. So a good mix between a lot of this. Obviously red very strong, yellow getting a little bit of a foothold I think in this meta, and Rob Lucci I think is very good. I think Rob Lucci's in a good spot too, just did not get a top in the Oceania one. So there's a lot of deck lists here, so I'm going to kind of ping pong between both these events and kind of notable lists from what I saw from this one. But make sure again, if you guys care about any of these lists, to check out the website, which is linked in the description if you guys want to see any lists in particular. We're going to start off with the first place for the Italian event. This is Antonio's Zoro, and we've been I don't think anyone's going to deny that Zoro is very strong. It's pretty much only gone stronger as this game has gone out. We do just have like such generic red cards that are very good in this meta, including the infamous Marco, and then like a little bit less infamous Marco, but both these cards are very good. Being able to get like just a bunch of 1-drops in their packages and go from there. Magra, not as common anymore. I think this is a really good set 2 card that people are using, but I do like the idea of it coming back for this one, giving the plus 3k power, which also means that you can get the boost on stuff like Buggy, which then makes it a 6k and then makes it a 7k with another Dawn investment on your Zoro, which is very strong. So that helps that out really nice. And then also just ISOs and yeah, ISOs getting up there. You can also bounce, boost another Magra as well if you need to, but I do like adding this one if you find the room for it. This, I would say this one's a little bit more aggressive, even though we are running the Edward Newgate as our top end. And then we do see Radical Beam, Whitebeard Pirates, 3 guard points, and 2 jet pistols, which I think people have been either not playing Jet Pistol, playing Fire Fist, or are just running the 12 between Rad Beam, Whitebeard Pirates, and Guard Point. So I think these are all good. I think Jet Pistol is a little bit less favored right now, but you won a whole tournament, so you probably know what's going on. So congratulations to Antonio for their finish here with Zoro. And then we also have our first place from Oceania. This is Shannon Cole's Trafalgar Law. And what you notice in this list, and probably a lot of the Trafalgar Law lists that did top this weekend, is that they're all just set 2 decks, right? They're all just very good. I do think like Law kind of just got better and generically because it does have better matchups against what people are playing right now specifically. I do think like Ace can be a hard matchup, but there weren't obviously a lot of Aces, as well as like Zoro and Whitebeard. I think at least keeps it equal, but it has a lot of good matchups across the board with how it is right now. And I think especially stuff like Yellow, it does very well, as well as Black, because I know a lot of people are on Rob Lucci. I think Trafalgar Law is probably a little bit ahead in that matchup, but I do think like specifically Yellow, I think this is a really good deck against Yellow, which a lot of people are on because it's the new hot deck and a new hot color as well. So it just gets, I think, a lot of free wins because of that too. So In general, some decisions for this one. We do have, like, again, just our one drop army, Sunny Kun, which is fine. I do like the idea for this. We have been seeing like the film Brook in a lot of versions of Trafalgar Law as well recently. But if you like Trafalgar Law, I just recommend going to the websites, checking all of the lists, because again, they're all somewhat unique. Everyone has their own kind of ratios that they like, and this is Shannon's there too. So congratulations to Shannon for their finish there. Next up, we have our third place from Italy. This is Alessandro's Newgate, and this is a really interesting. This is a straw hat version. We only have one new card in this one. It is simply just the ISO for this one, which is a very, very good card. But this is definitely like just the same as what we've been seeing for like set 2 in a lot of ways, where you just play a lot of straw hats very quickly. You're more of an aggressive deck. If you want to be able to like hide behind a Marco for an extra turn, you definitely can. But you just try to just put a bunch of these 6Ks out with the Monkey D. Luffy, with the either of them, and then we also see like Sanji for like extra 2Ks because they're playing Namis, which aren't as popular in a lot of Newgate builds too. And we also have the 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy, which was also in the Trafalgar Law list we just saw. But I think this is very, very good against a couple decks, especially like the mirror match, where if they're trying just to hide around behind a Marco, this Luffy can just snipe a win out of nowhere a lot of times. And also I think that works real well against like Rob Lucci, since they're Borsalinos and Fukurus as well. And this can definitely snipe a little, a win. So I'm a little surprised they're only running 2 in this deck, because I think you can run a little bit more, especially since it's so searchable. But it's probably because we're running 3 Ace as well as 4 of the Thatch there. But again, I think that the Straw Hat version still has some legs, and being like the 3rd place finish in a 500-person tournament in set 3 is very strong there. So that's Alessandro's list. And we also do have the list here for Jiawei from Oceania. So this is, I'd say, a more traditional list of like Whitebeard Pirates version of Newgate, with all the new support. So of course you do see ISO. We do see the new Marco, which was not in the other previous build, which I think a couple of people might find a little bit surprising in that. I did for a second, be like, why would you not run this card? But I think it is a little expensive if you want to play your 4-drop curve and everything. But and you know what, for what it's worth, this is an expensive card, and maybe he just simply didn't have it and was able to do well with it. So I'm not ruling that out, because I know that this is a little bit tricky to get. But I think like Ace is very good for this, and this kind of like the event card package that we have. Since we have so many Whitebeard Pirates, this doesn't whiff very often, which is nice. And we have our guard points and Radical Beam. So again, Newgate is quite a threat right now. I don't think I have to tell you guys that. And congratulations to Jiawei for their finish there. Going into yellow, we do have our 4th place from Oceania. This is David's list of Katakuri. And, we did see a lot of Katakuris in the Oceania event in their top 16 compared to the Italian event. And, there's some interesting cards based on my own personal testing and seeing for this one. Specifically, I've been seeing a lot of people run the Charlotte Opera, which is a little surprising to me. A 4/6 is very good, and I like it is good stats. And it could be strictly because of like a Newgate. You just want to play a 4-drop. You don't have to invest any more Dawn into, which I think is very strong. So that's something that I think is kind of interesting in that sense a lot of the time. It is always just a 1K and just like another target for your searches, which is nice. And just but it is really interesting because we have so many cards with effects in this that it's really tempting to play those as well. But we also have quite the tall end, so we have not only 4 big bombs, but we have 3 Katakuris and 2 of the Linlin from the starter deck. So this is quite a few of these guys, I'd say. Maybe a little bit more than I'm used to. Like just having potentially 7 dead cards in hand is kind of rough, especially like Katakuri, where you don't really get to rearrange the life as much as starter deck Charlotte. But these are very powerful cards, and if you're able to have the tempo early game to be able to play these and resolve them, they do very, very good in a lot of ways. So I still don't know how I feel about this 8-drop. It's either like sometimes it helps me win the game, sometimes it just feels like it's just okay, and sometimes it's just stuck in my hand. So I still have to play it a lot. It just, I don't know. I still don't know what I feel about it. So everything else I think makes sense. We do have like a good amount of event cards for this. We have the Sovereignty and the Thunderbolt. So none of the Soul Focus, I think, for this one, but we're going to look at the Charlotte Katakuri, Charlotte Linlin list in a second. But I think Katakuri is in a good spot. It does have, again, like I said earlier, like a bit of a weakness to Trafalgar Law, which isn't like super present, I'd say, across the board, but will be at the top tables. So this is, I think this is a good deck, and I especially think that, from a release standpoint, yellow's pretty good from just release. It's kind of, I feel like it's in the sweet spot of like not too broken, but very playable, which is sometimes a little bit hard to get that in between. So Anyways, this is David's list. Congratulations there. And then we also have our, so this is from Italy. This is Luke Stardic Linlin. And this is definitely the yellow leader I like a little bit more. I know that Katakuri is a lot more popular because he's a 7K for 1 very easily, which is great. But I do like kind of like the more controlling aspect you get to do with this Linlin. So being able to, stack cards into your life specifically is really nice, which is why I think we see the soul focus for this one. Being able to just put this down just means either that you just didn't take damage this turn, or you crit your opponent's life, which either are good right there. So I think that's great. And two's I think the sweet spot for Linlin specifically. But I also think it's a couple. There's no Thunderbolts in this one, which I love putting Thunderbolt on top of my life with this deck, and maybe like people were playing around it or whatnot, but being able to just pop something for free off of a card in our life, I think is okay. I also am. I really don't like this card. I'll be honest. I don't like this card a lot. I think it's like understood like why it can be good in a lot of ways, but the fact that it's going to be dead in your hand a lot of the time too. You're going to wish that it had counter, or you had something to pitch, especially since you have such a big top end of, again, a 3/3 of each of the Starlins and then 2 of the Katakuris. So just having like a 4 cost without any counter, I think is a little bit rough, but I think it kind of makes sense because you can like use your leader effect to take 2. Something you can do kind of tricky with this is that you can use this effect to go down life without adding it back, because with kind of how the effect works. So you could play it and then you could like Katakuri and then get rush with it, I guess. I don't think that's like the way you use it, but there's just some tricky stuff you can do with the leader. So I like this leader a lot, though. I'm really, really happy got a top, especially a 5th place. So congratulations to Luke with this one. I'm going to have to try with this list specifically, see what my thoughts are, and if I want to keep changing around. But I do think, like, you guys, I know a lot of people on Katakuri, definitely try out Linlin. I think it's in a good spot. So there we have there. And then we also have our Oceania. This is our Star Deck Kid deck. So this is Hironori's film version. Not too dissimilar from a build that I've been running a lot myself, which isn't too surprising because there's not a lot of cards you can run in this deck. It's kind of understood for what it is. The new cards we have are pretty much just the Krieg here, so being able to use this guy to get like a double attack or also get rid of 2 4 costs that are rested, I think is strong in a lot of ways. So he does come up, and I do think he's strong. He is another card without counter in this deck, which doesn't come up as much because we do have like the useless kit effect to be able to pitch and keep going for it. But I do think this deck is very strong, and I don't have a lot to say for it. It kind of showed up at the end of set 2 for us, but once it kind of, you just get so much advantage. Sometimes your 7-drop turns into a 7, into a 4, into a 3, and that's very, very good tempo. Being able to play 14 costs for 7, as well as being able to like maybe draw a card, or this is also a blocker, and then like Paradise Waterfall would block with this, and then restand it if need to. Just so many good things with this deck. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I think it's still in a good spot. I don't think it's broken. I think it's kind of like sitting in like tier 2 right now, and but really, really big congratulations to Hironori for their finish there. Next up, we have Jonathan with their Marine version of Rob Lucci. We have 2 different ones, both in the Italian event, but I'd say they're different enough to kind of go over. So this is our 7th place list here, and it does run more of like the Marine package. You don't see Air Door in this version. We're playing brand new, which I feel like this is kind of like, it's like a trap searcher sometimes because it's only 3, right? You kind of have to play a lot of non CP9 cards, which is why you aren't playing Air Door. But only looking top 3 for a Navy card, I feel is like a little rough for what it is. But there are a lot of good Navy cards, so it's not terrible, but it's just a little rough for that one. We're playing a lot of the CP9 stuff, so Fukuru, Khalifa, Kaku, as well as the Blue Note. But you'll notice that there isn't a spandom with this one, which I think is fine. It just doesn't mean like you just have no place on turn 1, but again, you almost always want to go second. We do also run a big kind of top end with this one, so we're not playing Sakazuki, but we are playing the Garp from the starter deck. So being able to play this on 5, I think just means that you have a good play on like your odd turns, which is nice. Being able to use this and then you use the effect to pop something on curve is good, as well as like the Isho. If you're playing against a deck like Newgate or Yellow, who gets really greedy with their hand size, this is a fantastic card for evening it out. And you're running 3 whole copies of it, which is maybe one like you want to run like 2.5, like, right? I feel like 2 is too little and 3 is too much, but it's in a good spot. But also we're running 3 of the secret rare Kuzan, which this is a bit of a brick fest potentially, but luckily you are playing a Rob Lucci, which you can get rid of cards in your hand that don't have any counter. You can get some value from them, as well as just being able to, you know, again, Garp, get some effects for this to get some destruction for it. And he works really well again with the E-show effect, so giving stuff -3, so he can pop a 7 or less all by himself, which is really great. And then obviously with Kuzan, you can pop pretty much 9 costs and above, as well as the 4-drop Kuzan. So, which also works really well with the Kaku as well, because he pops a 3 or less. So all this stuff is very good. I do like this deck a lot. I think Rob Lucci is very strong, and I haven't played as much as the Navy version, but I'll be trying it pretty soon. So this is the list here. This is Jonathan's list, and then we also have Antonio's list here, who is playing more of the CP9 version. So this is playing more, you know, we are playing the Air Door, which again, you either love it or you hate it. Either you know, have to play a lot of cards so you do hit it every time, because if you don't hit with this card, you paid 4 to do nothing. Like, you pretty much lose if this card whiffs, which is a little bit intimidating, a little bit scary. But if you play, you know, you just have to play a lot of CP9s and choose from there. So for his choices, the additional ones we have are Expandum. We have Kumadori. We also have the Wanzi as well, which is a CP7, so let's look for all CPs. Yeah. But being able to, you know, this is kind of like a bit of a jank pick, because it doesn't have any counter. But on play, you can discard 1 card from your hand. If your leader has CP as type, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 1 or less. So what you can do, kind of cheeky like, is that you can have you can put 8 Dawn underneath your Rob Lucci, swing as a 13, you know, trying to go for game, or even if they have like 1 life left, they take it. Then you can use Wanzi, get rid of one of their 1-drops, and then go again. So you know, it does cost 4 cards in hand, 1 Wanzi, 1 card to discard from Wanzi, and 2 to discard from Rob Lucci, which is sometimes a lot, but this can be a bit cheeky there. And you know, you do have to discard a card, unfortunately. So I don't think this card would be broken if you could just, like, it was a 2-drop 3K and it just popped something 1 or less. But probably, I don't know. What are we talking about? Red gets so many free destructions. It'd be a shame if black got one too. But I think it's a bit cheeky. Again, it's a bit stuck in hand because it doesn't have a counter cost, but it can be a little bit strong, especially if you need that early tempo. So, or even if you need to get a CP9 from your hand into your drop area to be able to play your Kaku or something else like that. So, but again, I like this deck. Obviously, we don't see like the big 10-drop Kuzan in this one because we don't really need it as much. We also are playing Sakazuki instead of the Garp, which I think makes sense too in its own right, because we kind of just need like a bigger pop in a lot of ways, and we aren't playing like the 4-drop Kuzan, which means it's a little bit harder for us to get stuff in range. So I think that makes sense as well. So this is a list there. Congratulations to Antonio for their finish. And to wrap it on up, we do have Nathan's ace. So we haven't been seeing a lot of ace in these top cuts, but I know a lot of people have been trying it out a lot of the ways. He's a really interesting leader, and my only issue with it is that he seems like maybe sometimes a little bit fair, but I also do like him because I think he has a really good matchup against Trafalgar Law. He just has like so many like polarizing matchups, which makes it rough. Like Rob Lucci, I think, is very tough for him because you don't really get to use a lot of your destruction effects as much as you want to, which is kind of rough. Especially like the Flame Emperor really doesn't do anything if they have like a Borsalino just kind of hanging out there. As well as like you just like get a little bit slow, so sometimes like aggro can be a little bit faster than you. But like late game, it's in a good spot in a lot of ways. So most of the lists I've been seeing that have been doing better aren't running Striker, which it's going to be interesting if that changes as well. But you know, this obviously you play a bunch of events because they're not ever dead in hand, which is nice with this, and as well as you can use them to pitch on your hand if you're trying to go for game and get that extra counter or like, you know, proactive counter, I guess. So. But yeah, the deck is good in its own right. I just feel like some of the matchups are just rough, which is kind of rough in its own way. So, but I do think it's really great, and to get Nathan just sneaking in the top 16 with 16th with this deck is really cool too. So that's his list here, and that is going to be it for us. So again, if you guys want to see all of these lists in detail, make sure to go to my website, which is linked in the description, as well as big shouts to again the both TOs for running these events for the deck list, as well as just having these live streams so you guys can watch it as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.